What's going on, everybody? C4, welcome back to the channel. Today we're for a new Madden 23 rebuild, where we are rebuilding the New Orleans Saints, as voted on by you guys over on my Twitter, at PapaXC4. Give it a follow if you're not already following. I said I want to do a couple more rebuilds from the fallout of the 2023 NFL Draft. Put a couple teams up there. The ones that I was kind of really thinking of was the New Orleans Saints. I think we can look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think we can look at the New York Giants. Like, there's still some interesting teams that we got to touch on, but the winner by a decent amount was running it back here with the New Orleans Saints. Last time we did a Saints rebuild was right after the Derek Carr trade, but we didn't have any of their free agency moves or who they acquired during the draft. And I think they got some pretty good talent from the draft, so that is what we're going to be doing here. Obviously, the big change here for the Saints is Derek Carr under center. Unfortunately, not the best starting place. 32 years old, 76 with the star dev. He is regressing, but we're going to try our best to make it work. I've been a Derek Carr fan. I don't know if that's known, but, like, you know, it's one of those, like, that LeBron James meme. Remember, we were like, oh, I knew he was going to be good. Derek Carr was my favorite quarterback of that draft class. He ran like a 4.6. He was, like, the most athletic. I thought he had the best arm in the class. Came from a little bit of, like, a gimmicky raid type school, but I was like, man, Derek Carr is legit. Like, me and my buddy, like, we still talk about it. Like, me and him were like, man, Carr is the best quarterback in this class. And I still think he, you know, the talent is there. Like, remember, there was that little period before he got hurt with the Raiders. He was playing like an MVP candidate. So I think the talent's there. I think he struggled a little bit. I think Vegas was just a tough environment near the end. But we'll see right now. I want to give him a chance. I want to give him a chance to thrive here. We got some talent. We got an 85 overall fullback. Let's go. Taysom Hill. Alvin Kamara. They got Jamal Williams coming over from the Lions. Touchdown machine. You got Michael Thomas in the slot. Chris Olave looks like an outstanding pick. Rashid is solid. We got A.T. Perry in the draft out of Wake Forest. This was like their final pick in the 6th round. Love it. A.T. Perry's a stud. Absolute stud. Him and Sam Hartman were cooking at Wake Forest. So I'm actually, because he has the dev trait, we're going to make him wide receiver 3. Offensive line across the board is really good. Now, Andrews Pete kind of has an ugly contract. But other than that, we got Ryan Ramczyk, who I kicked the left tackle just because the right tackle is, in terms of scheme fit, is a power archetype. Whereas Trevor Penning, we had him at left tackle, where the archetype's pass protector. And there was such a discrepancy there. It's just, you know what, we'll just kind of shuffle things around, move Ramczyk to it was the right combination. The tight end room, we got Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau coming in, but I think overall, pretty solid offense. I don't want to say they're a sleeper offense, but I do think not enough people are giving the credit to the Saints for how competitive I think they're going to be in the 2023 season. Now, the first thing that stands out here on the defense is, where is Cam Jordan? Well, it took me about an hour to sim through and get this roster where I really wanted to be to record this rebuild, and after that, when I went to the first offseason, Cam Jordan retired. And I was like, I'm not re-recording. I'm not re-editing all of this. We're just going to go and usher in the Isaiah Foskey era right away. They drafted him out of Notre Dame, likely as a successor for Cam Jordan. So we're just going to rock and roll with that. They got Brian BREES out of Clemson, which I love that pick. I think there's a lot of upside there. I think he's a football player that has gone through some things in college that might have affected his play and why he dropped off a little bit from an outstanding freshman season at Clemson. But he's definitely a player that I think, depending on, like, during draft season, some people might have, you know, if you had him closer to a top 10 pick, I think that's a little expensive, but I think where the Saints got him, outstanding value, and I think for a team that desperately needed something on the inside of that defensive line, Brian BREES is a great selection. Linebacking core, we do have Zach Bond there, but it's primarily going to be Demario Davis and Pete Warner. We have Marcus May, Honey Badger, Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, Alante, Cookie Monster Taylor, and Bradley Roby. That's a solid secondary. We got some depth to it, and it's pretty well-rounded across the board. So ultimately, I think we're going to be competitive. It's definitely not going to be the most rebuildy of rebuilds. Obviously, if we can't win with Derek Carr, we need to pivot to a different quarterback. That's a different story. But with the squad we have right now, I think we are going to be a playoff contender, and all it's going to take is for us to get a little bit of a good roll earlier than later in this 5-year rebuild, and I can see us competing for a Super Bowl here in year 1 or year 2. But it will come down to how far Derek Carr can lead this squad. Let's get into year 1. All right, just before the midway point, a lot of moving pieces here. Now, we are 2-3, which not really where I want to be, but we got 3 breakouts. Last week, we had a breakout for Isaiah Foskey, stuck on a normal dev. That stick. That's because he's the Cam Jordan replacement. That would have been cool. But look, we got 2 more breakouts. One is at linebacker for Zach Bond, who's another player that's trying to figure it all out. He was kind of a high pick. when he came out of, I believe it was Wisconsin. Like, he was a guy that was like a bubble first rounder. They fell a little bit. And he's one of, he doesn't really have like a, I don't know, feels like he doesn't really know what his true position is. Either way, we have him potential breakout. Paulson Adebo, our star dev corner, looking to make the jump to superstar. We have 2, just give me 1. I won't be greedy, but if we go 0 for 3 in dev traits in the span of 1 week, I'm going to be kind of bummed out. It might set the tone here. So we get the win, which is nice, 28-20. Zach Bond does not get the dev trait. He's probably the least like. If Adebo goes superstar, to pair that with Marshawn Lattimore, who's on a superstar, and it's just okay, midway point of year number 1, 4-4. Seems not a write-off yet. I mean, anytime that we are in a division with the Bucks, we know what the Bucks are in Madden 23. I can tell you right now, we'll spoil the Bucks aren't the Bucks in Madden 24, which is, honestly, they should put that on the back of the box. But while we're competing against it, 4-4 is not bad because, you know, we win 1 or 2 more. 6-4 looks a lot better than 4-4. But let's look at some contracts here. Our salary cap situation is not brutal. There was a lot of contract restructurings that I actually went in and kind of shuffled around a little bit when I started this rebuild. And that gives us a little bit of salary cap space. And looking at who is available, I think it's really just Michael Thomas is 34. I think given that he's a slot, like Michael Thomas, he's going to regress down to an 80 probably by the end of this contract. Still going to be productive. Still going to thrive in the slot. So I don't really have any issue paying him because he's going to be damn good. And he's one of the all-time Saint wide receivers. Like, where's he going to stay? Obviously, last couple of years, he's got a little murky. But, I mean, you got to remember, man, Michael Thomas. When Michael Thomas at his peak, incredible. Absolutely incredible. Uncoverable. Yeah, slant god. Yeah, yada, 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 yada. A little bit of a meme. A little bit as we get rejected by a fucking punter. But Michael Thomas can thrive. Michael Thomas can be one of the most productive wide receivers if he can get back out there fully healthy. And that's what I'm hoping that he's going to continue to do here for the Saints. Well, speaking of roles, another breakout today was Brian BREES, the first round pick. He gets a very nice superstar dev trait role plus 8K XP. Given the fact that we lost Cam Jordan on the defensive line, we'll take it. We need as much new talent as we possibly can get. At the end of year 1, we win like 4 of our last 5 to go 10-7 and make the playoffs. We got to run the gauntlet. It's a tough gauntlet, but you know, given the trade to go out and get Derek Carr, like this is probably like the bare minimum expectation. I don't think many Saint fans want a quarterback that's at their point in the career that Derek Carr is and not make the playoffs. That's clearly why they made a move like that. 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, 12 picks. Not bad. 67% completion percentage. Alvin Kamara, 1,500 yards, 18 touchdowns, 7 tutties. Jamal Williams, we had 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns. Michael Thomas. Chris Olave goes over 1,000. A.T. Perry was pretty close to going over 1,000 as well. So this passing offense is firing on all cylinders. Demario Davis, tackle machine. Same with Werner and Adebo going over 100 tackles. 11.5 sacks for the rookie Foskey. 10 from Brian BREES. That is what you want from your rookie class right there. And Foskey on that normal dev, that probably is going to be good enough to get Defensive Rookie of the Year, which will be a dev trade increase. Interceptions, not too bad. No real ball hawk, but not brutal. Yearly awards MVP goes to Will Levis, going to the Commanders. Wow, Tom Brady in Detroit. Okay, pretty interesting roles here. Offensive player of the year goes to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Brian Burns. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Will Levis. A.T. Perry, runner-up at number 2. Wow. Will Anderson gets Defensive Rookie of the Year. We have number 2 and number... Man, if BREES wins that, he's likely an X. That's annoying. So close, yet so far away. What can you do? I mean, I'm still happy that they're playing well in the sim. If they play like that every single year, the dev traits are going to come. All right, let's see. We go in the wild card round against the Green Bay Packers. I would say like 1 playoff win this year, I'd be pretty happy with, given all the other successes. That's exactly what we get. 28-21, and we get the run into the juggernaut, which is the Will Levis-led Commanders, which obviously it's Madden and not real life, but I believe I had a couple mock drafts where I had the Commanders trading up for Will Levis. And in this matchup, Aaron Rodgers is still with Green Bay. Did not have the best game, 2 interceptions. Derek Carr also did not have the best game. I'm going to guess Alvin Kamara went off, which he did. 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Defensively, Zach Bond got a sack. We had a pick from Adebo and the Cookie Monster, Alante Taylor, putting the New Orleans Saints into the divisional round against the 1-seed Commanders, which we beat. We beat the Commanders in the regular season. So we might have a chance to pull a double and find ourselves somehow year 1 in the NFC Championship game. And we crashed and burned there a little bit. 42 to 28, and it's going to be an NFC East NFC Championship game. But you know what? Proud of the squad. Good first start, I think, all things considered. Now I'm just kind of hoping we don't see major regression out of Derek Carr, because there's not really much we can do with this contract. We're kind of stuck with him for at least another year or so. That season's end. Take a look at the dev traits. No dev traits lost, and Alvin Kamara got back his superstar, which I think, honestly, I would make the argument that he probably never should have lost his superstar. I think there also could be the argument Michael Thomas should have a superstar dev. And there's also an argument to be made that Chris Olave, after his rookie season, could have been pushing a superstar. But very happy that we saw no one going in the wrong direction there as it relates to dev traits. Brian BREES obviously hit that superstar in season. Isaiah Foskey ended up getting the star off of a very good rookie season. We did face some regression as Marshawn Lattimore and Demario Davis both lose their superstar. Davis is much more in the case of just age, but luckily Pete Warner gained the superstar, so we keep that in the room. And Honey Badger goes from superstar up to an X Factor, which I'm not going to complain about any of that. Very good rolls here for the Saints. Damn, we got some retirements. Taysom Hill, which is probably not the worst thing given his contract, but seeing Demario Davis retire creates a massive hole now in the middle of our defense. While we have a lot of salary cap, don't want to make moves just for the sake of making moves. I really only need to address the linebacking spot. I would like maybe a premier edge rusher, but the guys that are available are just your familiar board. Like Rashawn Gary's always there. Montez Sweat's an interesting one, but I don't know about the age. But you know what, a 3-year, you know what, I actually didn't see that he was looking only for a 3-year, because that means you can just pretty much get him for his prime. Another pretty competitive bid from the Chicago Bears. If we don't get him, whatever, like literally it was just a last-second negotiation. But definitely want to bring in Patrick Crane, bringing that Louisiana boy home. But it'd be cool to get Montez Sweat too, which we do. So Montez Sweat, Patrick Queen, welcome to the Saints. 2 massive gets for the defense. All right, looking at the draft, sitting at pick 25. Tell you what, not a particularly strong draft class. Everybody that I wanted is off the board. So kind of looking through where we need to get better. I did scout quarterbacks. That was the position that I kind of focused on. Terrible quarterback class. All of the quarterbacks, the top one was scouted out true talent, first, second round true talent. So you're not getting anybody that's a legit first rounder. You're not getting anybody that was a top 5. So I don't think it's time to move on from Derek Carr just quite yet. I did a little bit of scouting at wide receiver, and all the guys that I wanted are off the board. I did scout this tight end, Daniel Roman, LSU, Louisiana kid. Unfortunately, the combine, not the best for me to really be like, yeah, let's grab that guy. I feel like we could probably wait till future years, and we got enough. I think at tight end, Juwan Johnson's still not, regressing too bad. I scouted this guard that I thought was going to be really good, and then it failed that he had D run blocking, which, the double A's aren't that bad, but that's not a guy you pick at pick 25. So I think kind of going BPA might be finding Brian BREES' partner in crime, which is David McClendon out of Arkansas. 6'5", 315, good size, B block shed, C finesse, B power. Don't know what the tackling is. It's probably going to be pretty good because he's a run stuffer archetype. But the combine is like, it's not bad. Got the really high bench press, and it's like, unusual to have the guys that aren't the clear nose tackles to have over 40 reps. So I'm intrigued, but also this draft class is so lukewarm. Like, if this might just be a normal dev player, I'll take the hidden dev, man. Just overall, though, shitty draft class. Screw it, we scouted him. Daniel Roman, A catching, B deep route running. Pretty good for a tight end, and he rolls a dev trade. Cool. LSU, keeping it local. Got a double dip here. Look at this O-lineman. Yeah, just trusting what information you have. Double B and an A for going into the 3rd round. Elite acceleration, agility, change of direction. I don't even need an interior lineman. I'll pull the trigger. And you look at our draft recap. Pretty awesome draft. All things considered, when I was like, this draft kind of sucks. To be able to find the shiniest turds in a mountain of shit, I think it's pretty good. Pat myself on the back here. We got a 72 kicker late, a 69 corner. Not bad. And then our first 3 picks, don't really need them. But you know what? Andres Pete has a terrible contract. We might be able to shift him inside to left guard. Compete with left guard. Free up some salary cap spot there because Andres Pete has one of the worst contracts in the NFL. Daniel Roman, the tight end that we passed over in the 1st round, was still there in the 2nd round. And that ended up being I don't know, was this part of the... I don't know how I have such an early pick in the 2nd round unless that was part of the Sean Payton trade with the Broncos, which I think it is. Being able to get a 74 hidden depth tight end, awesome. We don't even push him to be our starter this year. And then Dave McClendon, 76, hidden dev. Love seeing that. Him and Brian BREES are going to be awesome in the inside of this defense. Midway point of year number 2, and our fortunes have changed a little bit. Top 10 offense, top 10 defense, 7-2. Hey, you know what? Honestly, shout out Derek Carr. Derek Carr doing the damn thing, being that veteran, being that consistent presence, getting the job done. Taking a look at some contracts here. We have $120 million, which is more than enough money to do some damage here. We're going to start Paulson Adebo, 25 years old. Really, really reasonable contract, so let's get him signed on the dotted line. We got Honey Badger, only getting better with age. And again, I like the little bit of like getting some LSU talent here on the squad. Marcus May. Like this a whole lot better as a 1-year contract. I think I might pay him a little bit more to only have him for 1 year, because I think at 2 years when he's 33, that's not going to be the best looking contract. We have Pete Warner, and something that I hope gets fixed in Madden is can we stop classifying outside linebackers as edge rushers? He's getting edge rush type money there, even though he's firmly an off-ball linebacker. Cesar Ruiz, who in real life, they didn't even pick out his 5th-year option, but he's playing really well for us. So I'm going to lock him in. Getting at least 30, but for the most part, just keep him here for the remainder of this rebuild at that right guard spot. Him and Trevor Penning. Really good combo on that side. So I'm going to come back to the table, try to get Marcus May on a 1-year contract, and we are going to be going into this offseason with a bunch of money, maybe even more so, to get upgrades over, you know, Patrick Queen and Montez Sweat like we got in year 1. Maybe we can even bring someone better. At the end of year number 2, 10-7. Good record if that's kind of where we're at. At least we're making the playoffs every year, because all it takes is 1 year. Our offense kind of fell off a little bit. We do have a top 10 defense, which is pretty cool, and I'm not going to complain about that. Taking a look at their stats, so I assume that, you know, there is a certain point in time when your quarterback hits that age, they just start to suck, and that might be this year for Derek Carr. 4,400 yards, 28 touchdowns, 12 picks is pretty pedestrian, all things considered. 1,400 yards, 17 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara, awesome. 1,500 yards, 6 touchdowns. Chris Olave on 123 catches, and that's outside. I put Michael Thomas was our slot wide receiver, so good information for however long's left of Madden 23. Saints playbook, they throw it to the outside. That's great numbers for Chris Olave. Those might be, I don't know, the touchdowns might hurt it, but there might be a chance there at him getting superstar def when all is said and done. Roman with that's a respectable season for a rookie tight end. Defensively, Patrick Queen fitting right in his new defense, 126 tackles, 3 sacks. 10 sacks, Brian BREES, 9.5 for Foskey, 8.5 for McClendon, 7.5 for Montez Sweat. Maybe we want to see a little bit more production on Montez Sweat, given the price tag we paid on the open market, but is what it is. Pete Warner with a respectable year as well. 93 tackles, 10 TFLs, 3 interceptions, leading the team. I was unable to get Marcus May on that 1-year contract, so we're likely going to be looking for a new starting safety. As far as the award winners are concerned, looking for some Saints. Dave McClendon wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. We had runner-up for Offensive Rookie of the Year. That would have been cool to get a clean sweep there as it relates to just adding more dev trait guys. And we get Kicker of the Year. Cool. Right on. That's going to be likely a star dev kicker. And McClendon, whose dev trait, I don't know. I'm going to guess that it's just a star. Should likely jump up to superstar and give us 2 superstar dev D tackles. That's a great way. Build your defense from the inside out. We're going to have an opportunity to do that. But I want to try to repeat some of our success last year and go on a little bit of a playoff run in the first round. It's a divisional matchup. The Saints, the Panthers, bitter rivalry. And we are unfortunately one and done. Helps that they have CJ Stroud at quarterback, and ours is an old man regressing into dust. I think this is going to be the offseason here going into year 3. I don't know if we can go into year 3 with Derek Carr as our quarterback and expect to try and win a Super Bowl. And that's the whole point of today's video. At the end of year 2, the inevitable was coming. The regression of Derek Carr loses his dev trait. Writing is kind of on the wall. Chris Olave did not get a superstar. I was a little bit worried with the low number of touchdowns, but I mean, he's still playing very, very well. Doesn't necessarily need that dev trait. Cook was our hidden dev center that we moved to the guard. He's up to an 80 star. Roman's dev trait as our hidden dev tight end was also a star dev. Defensively, McClendon does go up to superstar. We get Brian BREES and Pete Werner up to an X Factor. We did lose the X Factor on Honey Badger, which is fine. No other dev traits up or down. And I think having 2 X Factors, a lot better than only having 1, especially at more, that's our lead linebacker. That's our best D lineman. That's our, primary pass rusher, which is a little bit weird to say in today's NFL coming from the D tackle spot. But Brian BREES has been outstanding. I'm glad that he's getting some love here in the sim. Not gonna lie, I was hoping much like Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr would retire, and that's how we could wash our hands clean of that contract. So for free agency, we need to replace Marcus May at safety, and I think Andre Sisco is probably our best option right now. 25 years old, 81 with a dev trait. Philly put in a big offer, but I think we're going to be able to justify that. The only other option would maybe be Derek Forrest, but there's no dev trait there, so I feel like I want to gamble on the dev trait. So we're going to kind of keep it a little low-key of a free agency period. We do have a decent amount of salary cap space, but I mean, the biggest question for our team, not so much safety, it's who we're going to do to potentially replace a quarterback. So I just said, fuck it, we're going Trevor Lawrence, X Factor, 25 years old. Don't know how. I was like, man, should I just be modest? Maybe go with Trey Lance. You know, one thing I haven't been able to do a lot in these rebuilds, I actually don't think yet in any of our rebuilds I've signed one of like the top quarterbacks. And sometimes it's because, you know, the quarterbacks in real life already signed contracts. Like Jalen Hurts is a popular one we've seen. Justin Herbert is another one where it's like, I think they're clearly going to re-sign Justin Herbert. Someone like Trevor Lawrence, you know, I think there's a little bit more gray area. You know, I feel like if the Jags continue to underperform, there's a chance that maybe the price point of Trevor Lawrence might be a little too expensive for the production. And, you know, if they continue to just not be able to get to the playoffs, and if Doug Peterson can't get Trevor Lawrence to go to the next level, there's a chance. Let's be honest. Still unrealistic. But I said, you know what? It's about time. We just say, F it. Let's get some ridiculous changing of the guard type move. And also, if we make this, we're going to be able to cut Derek Carr, which frees up about $12 million of salary cap. So, why not? Let's go out, not only get a safety, but buy a brand new franchise quarterback. It's got to be reminiscent of when, you know, a move very similar to when they got Drew Brees from the New Orleans, from, where did he come from? The Chargers? They just straight up signed their new legendary franchise quarterback. We're hoping history has a chance at repeating himself with football Jesus coming to New Orleans. Now, we don't really have any drastic needs, but here's something that's just classic Madden. Usually, if you see someone with D catching, you're like, F that. That guy's going to be butt cheeks. Well, we got David Hill here. B catching traffic, A deep route running, B release, and he runs a 4.29, elite speed, elite acceleration. You look at our wide receiver room. The player that I'm worried about dropping off right now is Michael Thomas. And if this is clearly our BPA available, I think we might have to pull the trigger. There's another good deep threat here that could also be something Steve Woodyard. Just don't have as much information, not as fast. But our team's really, really well-rounded right now. Luckily, we know we figured out the quarterback position. So, I mean, there's some depth that could be around, like Mike Hunter with double A's there off the bat. That's more of like a second-round pick. Corey Batten with the double A's, but like usually when you get guys like that, their pass block or run block late story is pretty shit. We don't need anything on the defensive line. We don't need anything right now in the linebacking room. At least like we need like someone that was like a first rounder. Not really getting anything like that. Plus we only really need 2 linebackers. And then I was like, all right, well, what about the secondary? And we did some homework on DeMarcus Bolden. 3 B's and a C, 6'1", 204, and he's actually really good as well. Go corner. Hey! Now I'm gonna have to go cheat. Now I'm gonna have to go peek at that wide receiver that we passed on, Hill. But corner is a little bit bigger because now the more thing, like, what if Michael Thomas just is here for the full 5 years? Right? We got Chris Olave as our wide receiver 1. A.T. Perry is a scheme fit, physical wide receiver. Corner, however, you know, Lattimore's regressing. No dev traits yet for Alontae Taylor. Adebo's limited ceiling. It might not get much higher. So, yeah, sure, why not? Maybe splash. And this guy's a superstar dev. Could be a great role for us. All right, another BPA. I scouted a running back, double-A, Josh Miner, a power back. We do utilize a power back in our system, and he's a pretty damn good athlete. And anytime I get a double-A, pretty intrigued. And even though there's no dev trait, I think he's going to have a pretty decent base rating. Would be shocked if it's below like a 72. Take a look at our draft recap, and Bolden was the right call. Oh, the running back below. I said 72. He's 71 normal dev. All right, but Bolden 77 hit a dev corner, man-to-man scheme fit out of Alabama. Really pivoted there last second. I'm not gonna lie. Once I remember that I scouted him, I was like, oh yeah, he's probably pretty good. And not bad. 76 man coverage, 95 speed, 95 acceleration, pretty decent jumping. All things considered for like a longer outside 6'1", 204 type player. But I do need now check out Hill, the wide receiver. Likely went late first round. We were very close to just pulling the trigger, and then we decided not to. And he's 76 with a hidden dev, elite speed, 96 speed, 96 acceleration. Had the terrible catching, but that's not. Look at that spec catch. The agility is great. Change of direction. Please just be a star dev. I mean, we don't really need him. Like, that's one of those things. If he's superstar, he's still going to be wide receiver 4. Would he have been even playing? Well, the process, you know what? When I see something like that, where it's like, again, if that was wide receiver 4, he probably loses that dev trait because he doesn't play at all as a rookie. But the process was right. That guy looked good enough for me to just say, F it, we're drafting him in the first round. And we would have been right if we decided to pull the trigger. Hopefully our corner is as good as a prospect. Starting year 3, massive change under center. Going with Trevor. I did actually think about keeping Derek Carr on the roster because he had the mentorship tag, which it's still at 25 years old. Still a lot of room for Trevor Lawrence to grow and develop. But I'd rather have that additional $10 million of salary cap next year to continue to be aggressive in free agency. But very intrigued to see what Football Jesus is going to be able to do. 10 wins has kind of been our ceiling with Derek Carr, and we really need to smash through that ceiling. I think having Alvin Kamara, Olave, A.T. Perry, Michael Thomas, Romaine, and really an outstanding offensive line, one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, I think we're going to thrive. I think we definitely have the makings for push for a top 5 offense when all is said and done. Defense, front 4 is great. Sweat, McClendon, Brian Brzee, and Foskey. Linebacking core is primarily going to be Patrick Queen and Werner. Cisco comes in free agency to upgrade potentially over Marcus May, along with Honey Badger, Lattimore, Adebo, and Bolden. We used our coaching tree to unlock his dev trade. Only a star dev, which sucks, knowing that we passed on a superstar wide receiver, but he's actually going to get on the field. Whereas if we got that superstar wide receiver, he just would have been, he would have, I wasn't going to bench A.T. Perry because we would have known he was a superstar. So he would have been wide receiver 4. So I think a slot corner, a little bit more important. And plus, hey, if he plays well, gets a couple picks, has an opportunity to get defensive rookie of the year, that is likely to be a dev trait to catch up and get that superstar dev. But all eyes on Trevor Lawrence in the offense. Is this the right move, the winning combination here in year 3, which is usually the weird, unpredictable year where if you're going to suck, it's going to be year 3. Is Trevor Lawrence going to be good enough to help us avoid that and make us a Super Bowl champion? Let's find out. Through 8 weeks in season 3, the Trevor Lawrence era couldn't be going any better. 7-0, sitting atop the division, number 1 offense in the averaging 35 a game, and a top 5 defense. Now the wheels can fall off to kind of close out the year, which could happen, but at least the pace that has been set to start year 3, incredible. Exactly what we're looking for when we paid $300 million to Trevor Lawrence. Load out some contracts we still have, and we've done a great job managing our salary cap. We can sign whoever the hell we want, and really, it's Alvin Kamara. We want Alvin Kamara to come back. This is a... What the fuck? My contract is this. Honestly, if he was asking for double, I'd still probably pay it. Let's give him a 3-year, $25 million. It's not going to cost... Why is a running back... I get he's 30, but he's still a 90 superstar looking for that... We're going to get him... I don't know. It's almost like we're getting the salary numbers. Like when you have no salary cap. Like this is the max you can offer him and he's got to turn it down immediately. Well, yes, there's no interest in him re-signing. Me still overpaying for him, or even judging by this initial offer, grossly overpaying for him, is still below what I think it should cost to re-sign Alvin Kamara. I just got him on a 3-year, $28.5 million deal. We're laughing. Holy shit! What undefeated? What? How many times I've got undefeated? Probably 5, count on one hand, and this is nothing crazy. We've been doing these 0 rings to 7 rings, and we've had teams that are like 96, 97 overall. And we're capping out 15, 14, 15 wins. 17-0. The New Orleans, and I would argue yeah, Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence? That's what makes this team undefeated. Like, we've been back-to-back 10-win seasons. We get 7 more wins by just having Trevor Lawrence. Or you know what? You know what it was? It's probably Andre Cisco. That's probably what we were missing right there on the back end of the defense. Andre Cisco was the missing combination. But that's what you want. When you say F it, we're going to go try to pull a Drew Brees 2.0 and just buy a quarterback. 48 touchdowns, Trevor Lawrence. 10 interceptions, 75% completion percentage. Never going to have crazy passing numbers. Like, I don't think we're ever going to have top 5 passing numbers because Alvin Kamara is still so heavily involved in this offense. But outstanding. Chris Olave, ridiculous numbers. Michael Thomas, just under 1,000, but 12 touchdowns. Perry and Roman, solid years. Defensively, Patrick Queen, 100 tackles, 4 interceptions. We got 16 sacks, Montez Sweat, 9.5 Breezy, 8.5 McClendon, 8 from Isaiah Foskey, 5 picks, Lattimore, a couple fours. We got Cisco with 4 picks, 3 interceptions. Interceptions off the charts. I mean, Trevor Lawrence should win MVP. You go 17-0 and throw 48 touchdowns, and you're going to give it to freaking Joe Burrow? The disrespect, dude. You kidding me? At least he wins quarterback, but he's already an X Factor, didn't really need it. Alvin Kamara, runner-up for running back of the year. Chris Olave, runner-up, but I think Olave's definitely hitting that superstar dev off of the season. Eric McCoy gets lineman of the year, so that's likely going to be a superstar dev. Montez Sweat gets D lineman of the year. That's likely going to be a superstar dev. So we've definitely set ourselves up. Would have been nice for Lattimore to get DB of the year. Greg Cameron gets kicker of the year. That's the second time. That could likely be a superstar dev. So while you go 17-0, and you're going to be incredibly disappointed if you fall short of, like right now, if we fall short of the championship game, that's going to be pretty bad, let alone not making the Super Bowl. But our team is only going to be better next year. So the very rare, like I'm thinking of, like, when was the last couple times? I think we went 17-0. Fuck off. And we get fucking our asses kicked. 17-0 and 1 and done in the playoffs. 35-14. I mean, if you want to throw a little storyline in, maybe that's why Trevor Lawrence didn't get $300 million from the Jags. Just sucks in the playoffs. Fuck off. Pardon my French, but fuck off. 17-0, and guess who wins the Super Bowl? Fuck, the Chiefs. Didn't see that coming. No. All right, we got Montez Sweat, D lineman of the year. He was on a star dev. Would love to see a little Goldie boy there, which, oh, fuck me, he doesn't get. And we got Trevor Lawrence, who a little down in the dumps about him right now because, you know, maybe it's unfair to him. Maybe he did his job. Maybe if I looked at the box score, I would have saw Trevor Lawrence, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and everyone else dropped the ball. We did give up 35 points on defense for the number 1 defense in the NFL, but this is probably the biggest set of blue nuts we've had in a rebuild in a very long time. 17-0, and then we just suck. As it relates to depth traits, Chris Olave up to superstar, Eric McCoy up to superstar. Defensively, Montez Sweat probably deserved to go up to superstar, did not. Andre Cisco goes from star to superstar. Marshawn Lattimore goes from star to superstar. Honey Badger back up to an X Factor, so we're capped out with our 3 X Factors on the defensive side of the ball. But, man, this is going to be a tough one to overcome. 17-0, and then we pull a Dallas Cowboys and lose in the first round. Not only do we lose in the first round, we lose to the Panthers in the first round for like the 2nd straight year. And going through free agency here in year 4, our team is ready to go, man. We don't need a single damn thing. We could overspend and just say, screw it. We can bring in Patrick Surtain. Why not? But, you know, this is a realistic rebuild, and I feel like we stretched our realism to the maximum limits, signing Trevor Lawrence. So I'm going to look more so at keeping the $79 million available to us so that we're going to be able to keep our 17-0 super team together with our in-house signings. And then what's ever left, we can splurge going into year 5 if it turns into a Super Bowl or bust scenario. But I guess we could look back and reflect. We are passing on Patrick Surtain. And, you know, that absolutely would be a game changer. But we don't need any more X Factors. We're already capped out with the 3 X Factors on the defense side of the ball. It'd just be really, really excessive. And if we end up signing Patrick Surtain, and then come free agency next year for in-house guys that we want to resign, if we have to decide to move on from a couple guys at other positions, yeah, it might not age well. So we're going to sit this one out. We're going to keep our money, have it roll over for year 5 in case we have to hit the panic button because it's a Super Bowl or bust scenario. So we passed on Pat Surtain in free agency, but corner is a position that I'd be interested in kicking the tires. And looking at this year's draft, there are 3 corners that look to be pretty nice. Arguably even 4. We got Austin Hicks here, AA, double B. We got Jermaine Mays, who actually I wish we scouted more because, you know me, I'm a little bit of a size freak. And you give me a guy that's 6'3" with Ely, all those. That might be one of the guys I want to jump on. You have Jaleel Moore, 3 A's and a B at 6'1" at a Mississippi State. Combine also pretty good. Not the best, but still pretty good. And then you have the number 1 player in the draft, 4A Reggie Tucker. Now he's 5'10", not the best combine, but 4A. The last time I drafted a 4A, he was an X Factor right out the gate. So going into year 4 draft, year 4 drafts where this is the draft that I would be willing to sacrifice future picks to trade up because we don't really utilize any of our draft picks in year 5. So I think we're going to call around and see what it's going to cost to trade up for really any of those 4 corners. I think all 4 of them are going to be legit. Of course, I'd say I'd go Rucker would be 1. I'd go Mays 2, Moore 3, and Hicks at number 4. But I'd be happy with all, even if I had to settle on Hicks, if that's the only price point that we can kind of trade up with. I want to land one of these 4 corners. But at the last mock draft, kind of get an idea where they're going. Tucker's going 3. Moore is going at pick 4. Mays is going at pick 7. And we're going to need a top 10 pick. So I'm thinking right now we call... We'll see what Atlanta. We'll go Atlanta and Chicago and just see what they're looking for in terms of compensation to trade up to those spots. Usually you get an offer that's at least like, hey, give me your draft picks. They're looking for straight players, and at this point, I'm not going to sacrifice those talent there to move up with Chicago. What about Atlanta? And Atlanta, I mean, it's a richer pick. Still kind of want the same ballpark player. So I think we're going to have to look at a little bit lower down the board. We're able to do business with the Commanders. So the top 2 corners are off, but I think we're still going to be able to get the 6-3 guy. We're trading both of our first-round picks this year and next year to move all the way up to pick 7, which, I mean, the Commanders were also projected to take the corner that I was looking at. Now, I guess the question is are we making the right call? Are we selecting the right corner? I think so. Austin Hicks, okay, so he has the A catching, doesn't really matter. But B-man, A-press, B-zone. He's 6'2". He ran 4. Here I was saying we have to go Jermaine Mays. A-press, B-zone. Pretty good. But little did we know, Austin Hicks. Yeah. Gotta go with that. We gotta look at all these corners. Just an outrageous roll. Oftentimes, one of these guys, the 2 that went before, the 2 that were still on the board, those are like one generated. There might be 4 80-plus, superstar-plus corners in this year's draft. Hopefully, we just got one of them. Now, with all that being said, one of those guys is going to be the worst of the 4. And I hope that silver lining is we did not get the worst of the 4 top corners. And Austin Hicks, 81 overall. I can't look at the dev trait yet, but 81 is sensational. Getting that at pick 7. We get a 70 overall D tackle, but I'll take 81 corner. As long as that's not a star dev, we're going to be really, really happy with that. So the first corner was Reggie Rucker, also 81. Hidden dev. What kind of dev do we got? Okay, he's an X Factor. 4 A's. Out the box. He looked like an X Factor. Looked like an X Factor. Walked like an X Factor. Smells like an X Factor. Probably an X Factor. Now, here was Jaleel Moore, who out of all the corners was the one I was kind of least excited. He's just a star dev, but still not bad at all. 79 star dev. Oftentimes, that could be like the best corner in the draft. We got Hicks, who's 81. Mays is also an 81. So either way, we would have been getting an 81 corner. Mays dev trait is star. So maybe, but look at that, dude. 381 corners in a single draft. Glad we could be a part of it. Glad we got an outstanding athlete. Hopefully he's something better than a star dev. All right, well, don't know what the dev trait is. I guess we got a freaking hidden dev quarterback late. That's a superstar. Jeremy Cosgrove. Rich get richer. And hopefully Hicks is also a superstar. Like if he's a superstar, it still shows up as a question mark. So I'm going to hold out that he's going to be at least a Goldie boy. Maybe the curse was going undefeated. So we have at least one loss chalked up here. 5-1, sitting atop the NFC South. I mean, hey, let's go for 16-1. That'd be pretty cool. But let's look at some contracts here. This is why we didn't spend in free agency, because we wanted to make, life easy on us as far as contracts are concerned. Why is there just so many options here? There we go. So what do we got? We got Chris Olave. Again, just being able to close our eyes and be like, yeah, we're signing literally everybody that we want to re-sign. This is why you don't just, you get your Patrick Surtains or anything like that. We're going to come back to the table with Marshawn Lattimore. We have Brian BREES, who we're, at this point, we'll just give him very player-friendly. He wants even more money. Okay, well, that's not that big of a problem. Montez Sweat, 1-year deal. Okay, he's not greedy. We have Ryan Ramczyk. We'll give him player friendly. We only need him here for one more season. We'll give him 2 years, limit the salary cap. Patrick Queen's been solid since he came here. We'll give him a 4-year deal, really reasonable for only $30 million. Which, you know what, it kind of breaks even because we had to pay Pete Werner so much money, an excessive amount because he was just classified as an outside linebacker. So we're breaking even with Patrick Queen on that affordable deal. We have Trevor Penning at tackle. Why are there so many guys that don't have any interest staying with the team that was coming off a 17-0 season? Unless they're kind of getting a waft of like, man, I don't know if this team's going to be good enough when all is said and done to get this ring. But, you got guys like A.T. Perry that believe in the process and believe in Trevor Lawrence. And look at who we got left. You know what? Just for argument's sake, I'm going to try to keep all 3 of these guys. Foskey's been solid, but he's part of that first draft class. Let's continue to try to build around that. Definitely, Brian BREES is our top target. I'll even overpay excessively to make sure he stays here in New Orleans, and I don't think it'll take a whole lot of money to get Lattimore to sign on the dotted line. And the end of year 4, 13-4, not 17-0, but number 2 offense, number 1 defense. Pretty much the same. Maybe we just had an easier schedule last year. Losing to the Bears kind of sucks, week 18, in terms of momentum. But 13-4, really, really good record. I need to right now just sim to the end of the year. I got to see that depth trade in that corner. Please be superstar. Please be superstar. Please be superstar. Please be. Yeah, it's fucking it's star. Whatever. It's still really good. 83 overall. That guy's gonna help. It's not Patrick Surtain, but 81. I'm not ever gonna complain about an 80+ rookie. Trevor Lawrence was honestly a little whelming this season. 46, unless Alvin Kamara had ridiculous numbers to justify that. I mean, he had I think offensively, those are ridiculous numbers. Over 30 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence probably isn't going for a 40 bump. Just weird that there's that discrepancy. Like, usually you don't see 1 year 40 passing touchdowns and then the next year 30 rushing touchdowns. But, efficiency is efficiency. Chris Olave, ridiculous. Another 100+ catch season, 1,600 yards, 14 touchdowns. We're getting borderline like Cooper Kupp numbers out of him. This is outside. Again, I got to stress, we're not slot cheesing him. He is getting wide receiver 1 numbers on the outside, which is awesome. Patrick Queen led team in tackles, 13 sacks. Montez Sweat, 12 from Brian BREES, 9 from Foskey. We were able to re-sign, along with Brian BREES, 9 from McClendon. Interceptions down a little bit, given our secondary. Hicks, the rookie, finished with 79 tackles and the 1 interception. Looking at the yearly awards, MVP goes to Will Levis. In the NFC, Devontae Smith, Offensive Player of the Year. I think we're going to have too much. Ugh. Yeah, way down there, number 5. Kind of stinks a little bit. Maybe not the best year for the squad. But, hey, last year, we got a bunch of award winners, bunch of Dev traits, undefeated, and we were 1 and done in the playoffs. So, maybe this is the mix we need. If not, I might be starting to think that the Saints are a cursed team because we have 0 playoff success through really 2 really, really dominant years. But, hey, we barely got by, but it still counts. 21-20 over the Green Bay Packers. Alvin Kamara. Look at that weird stat line. 53 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. 6 catches, 128 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. Setting up a NFC Championship game against the Commanders. They're 87. They're not a bad team, but we're 92. There are levels to this. And we are headed to the Super Bowl. 38-28. Trevor Lawrence and company punches our ticket to the Super Bowl. Saints, Bills, 2 best teams, I think, in the NFL. Josh Allen had a hell of a year. 42 touchdowns to 7 picks. It is the Saints and their number 2 offense, number 1 defense against Buffalo, and their number 6 offense, number 3 defense. The 2 best teams meet in the Super Bowl. What you love to see. Let's hop in front row and see if here in year 4 we can get our first Super Bowl. This is one of those ones. I like seeing matchups like this because I can't really be too salty if we lose because the other team is very good. It's just, I don't know. It's nothing new. It's nothing you guys haven't heard before. I feel like there's a little too much Cinderella story that goes on in the Madden sim where it's like, oh, okay, really? We're going up against the 8-9 Bills that have no redeeming qualities of an elite team and they're smoking us kind of deal. This year, these are the 2 juggernauts of the NFL in their respective conferences. And I'm very happy that going into the 4th, we are up 28-10. Now, Buffalo does get 2 very quick scores. And we are feeling like we're going to choke it here a little bit. 40 sec. Well, I wish I saw what happened there. But I'm glad it wasn't what we saw unfolding between our eyes, where we were kicking the shit out of them, and they got 2 quick touchdowns to tie it up at 28 because, of course, They're going to tie it up at 28. But with under a minute to go, something happened. I got to go look at the scoring. I don't know if that was an interception, a turnover. Was that just like a 70-yard run? But year 4 yields a Super Bowl. We have a chance to kind of roll this one out to a little bit of a dynasty, win 2 back-to-back after 17-0 and losing our first round matchup. To go the next year, have a couple losses. You know, we faced a little bit of adversity, but the $350 million investment off of free agency, very much like Drew Brees, yields a Super Bowl for the New Orleans Saints. And we're going to try to run it back again here next year. Wasn't the crazy game for Trevor Lawrence? Probably fair to say that he's not the MVP. I just need to see what happened there at the end. So we got Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, touchdown. Chris Olave, touchdown. Alvin Kamara, touchdown. And it went to overtime, and it was a 38-yard pick six. Marshawn Blouses. I mean, looking at the score there, they got 18 points in the fourth. See, that's pretty rage-inducing. But Lattimore, give him the Super Bowl MVP. Let's freaking go, man. That's awesome. So for our final free agency, we need wide receiver and a safety. I did throw a bid in on A.J. Brown, but I believe it was the Houston Texans had a really big offer on him. I didn't want to just put all my eggs in that basket. There were 0 bids on JSN, and JSN is a slot wide receiver. That's what we're looking for to replace Michael Thomas. So we're going to get him, or at least try to. We got a competitive bid. And then I'm going to think a little outside the box for a safety. Didn't love the safety market, but someone like Keely Ringo has talked about as a prospect. Well, now he's on the Philadelphia Eagles, potentially having to move to safety. I figured, why not? 6'2", 205, has the build, has the length, has the athleticism to make that move. Let's have a little bit of fun here and have a little bit of a position change. Able to land both of those top targets. We are ready to run it back year 5 as 2-time Super Bowl champions. Did kind of punt year 5 draft. So how was we doing first round pick? But we got Larry Love, first team all name, hidden dev linebacker out of Florida State. Good athlete, all things considered, but wasn't a particularly strong draft class either. Got a 70 wide receiver, Michael Ziegler, out of Boise State, but you know, it is what it is. There's only so much you could do year 5 draft, especially when you trade away your first round picks to go get an 80+ player the year before. Ha! Cool. Larry Love, first team all name, and just a casual X factor in the second round. Year 5, looking to run it back as Super Bowl champions. 92 offense, 91 defense, 91 overall. Squad has definitely taken a turn for the best when we moved on from Derek Carr to Trevor Lawrence. Olave now is a 98 X factor. Alvin Kamara still holding on with that 90 threshold. We added JSN as our Michael Thomas replacement, and A.T. Perry still developing nicely. Offensive line, Ramchick, Cook, McCoy, Ruiz, and Penning. Most of that are, this is all homegrown. Cook's the only guy we had to draft, but we drafted him. We built that guy. Same with Roman there at tight end. A lot of homegrown. Even though the most important position, we did just buy it off the open market. Sometimes that's what it takes. And again, we're just modeling this team after the Saints when they got Drew Brees. Defensively, Sweat, McClendon, Brian Breesy, and Foskey make up a really nice front four. Warner and Queen as our 2 linebackers. Love is an X factor, just a throwaway pick in the second round. Like, it looks kind of good. Sometimes you get those guys that are just X factors. Ringo and Cisco at safety. We got Hicks, Lattimore, reigning, defending Super Bowl MVP, and Paulson Adebo. We got lots of depth at corner. There's no weaknesses to this squad whatsoever. And I'm going to say pretty confidently, we're definitely favorites to win the Super Bowl again here year 5. But got to go out there and prove it. Damn it, I was simming it 1 week at a time. We were 12-0. I was like, are we going to go 17-0 twice in one rebuild? And then we run into the juggernaut known as the Philadelphia Eagles organization and suffer our first L of the season. And we finish year 5 with a 15-2 record, number 2 offense in the NFL, number 7 defense. We built a hell of a team, 93 overall. Team that has just a great balance between throwing the football and running the football. 4,900 yards, 43 touchdowns for Trevor Lawrence. 1,400 yards, 18 touchdowns to go along with 16 touchdowns from RB2. Just a dominant duo. Olave's been incredible. 1,800 yards, 12. This is a play. Back in the day, like 2 Maddens ago, the Saints were in line with the Chiefs, with the Bucks. They were an incredibly cheesy sim franchise team. But I haven't really experienced the last 2 years, really the end of the Drew Brees era. They haven't been incredible. Like, you remember too before, like there was the year after Drew Brees retired, Jameis Winston always put up ridiculous numbers. Like whatever quarterback the Saints would get would put up. Not so much the case here this year, but man, this is a really good playbook. All things here, very impressed with it. Defensively, 96 tackles, Patrick Queen lead the team. 18 sacks from Sweat, 18 from Brian Breezy, which is outstanding and absurd from a defensive tackle. 11 sacks McClendon, 9 from Isaiah Foskey, 6 picks Lattimore, 4 from Pete Werner. So we have some pretty audacious numbers across the board here. MVP goes to Anthony Richardson with Trevor Lawrence coming in at 5. I feel like that's a little disrespectful. But it is what it is. Kareem Hunt, Offensive Player of the Year. Brian, okay, so the Panthers are looking pretty dang good. Trevor Lawrence is Quarterback of the Year. Don't know how Olave is, not winning Wide Receiver of the Year, but I guess beggars can't be choosers. Marshawn Lattimore, Defensive Back of the Year. He is playing very well for us late in his career, late in this rebuild. And we're able to kick our feet up here in the wild card round and await our opponent in the divisional. Hopefully it's not the Panthers. I think the Panthers are the team we don't want to really draw here. It is the Philadelphia Eagles, team that knocked us off in the regular season to stop our undefeated streak, stop our second 17-0 season, and one of our 2 blemishes. A chance to avenge it in a game that actually means something. We are the home team, defending Super Bowl champions, and we handle business 38-24 over the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's get a little bit of a recap there. Ooh. Not a clean game from Trevor Lawrence whatsoever. 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, incredible. 3 interceptions. That is a little rich for my blood. Olave went off. We had Brian Breezy with the sack. We'll give some credit to the Eagles. We got TJ Edwards, something known as a Ben Clifford, and they got the veteran DJ Reed back there. But wasn't enough, as it is the matchup. We might have a Super Bowl rematch of us and the Bills here. They're still surviving, but what stands between us is the Detroit Lions. Number 4 offense. Not really a great defense. Keep that in mind. If we see our number 2 offense average 35 points a game, we lose and we only get like 12, nothing but field goals. But a chance to get back to the Super Bowl. Damn. The Bills crash and burn too. Buffalo was looking to make it back-to-back Super Bowls. They fell to the Raiders, and I'm not going to be too solid. The Lions deserve something good to go their way. And it's just, man, Trevor Lawrence, 5 interceptions in 2 playoff games. That is not good. That's not playoff football. That's not winning football whatsoever. And I hate to throw him under the bus. He got us a Super Bowl, which for these rebuilds, that's really just the main goal, get at least 1. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence did not help us out here. Year 5 playoff run, 5 interceptions, way too much. But I think all in all, now looking back through 5 years, we built a hell of a team. Obviously, maybe, I don't know, some people might say realistic, you got Trevor Lawrence. They might have been tapping out after that happened in the video. But I think outside of that, we did a lot of things well. Love seeing the development of some of these players. We look at some of the stats, some of the career stats. I definitely want to see what Brian Breezy has done. I definitely want to see what Pete Warner's done. Definitely want to see, the amount of just ridiculous stats that Chris Olave is at this point in his career. Same with Alvin Kamara. And all in all, successful rebuild. I generally wanted to rebuild the Saints here. Had no expectations that we're going to keep Derek Carr. This was going to be a rebuild that I want Derek Carr till he retired. And I'm glad that we pivoted when we did, because I don't think we would have had a success that we did. Trevor Lawrence finished his career 31,000 yards passing, 246 touchdowns, only 75 interceptions. He's been pretty damn good. Alvin Kamara on 13,000 rushing yards, 148 touchdowns. Outstanding. Simply outstanding. Receiving, Chris Olave in 6 seasons, 669 receptions, 8,400 yards, 60 touchdowns. So he averages 100 catches a year. He averages, I don't even know my math. It's too early for me to be doing math, but he averages well over 1,000 yards a season and 10 tutties a year. That is awesome for Olave, who is a guy I'm telling you right now. I'm thinking about targeting him in my fantasy football leagues. I picked pick 4. I don't want to say out too much because some people in my league might be watching this, but I think Olave might be one of my targets. Not in the first round, but he could be a prime. I think if you give me Garrett Wilson, you give me Chris Olave. Might be closer than you expect. Kamara, big time numbers in the backfield. Just ridiculous, actually, when all is said and done. Alvin Kamara has almost 20,000 yards from scrimmage. Freaking Darren Sproles type numbers for all-purpose yards. Defensively, Patrick Queen, just under 1,000. Lattimore, 800 tackles. Pete Warner with 700 tackles. We got 87 sacks. Montez Sweat, 59.5 from Brian Breezy for a D tackle. That's awesome. 47 sacks for Isaiah Foskey. 37 from McClendon. 33 picks from Marshawn Lattimore. 15 from Pete Warner. Love seeing all those numbers. So that'll do it for you today, fellas. I did say at the very beginning of the video some other teams that I'm considering just for like a straight up post 2023 Super Bowl rebuild. I got the Bears, Dolphins, Vikings, Bucks, and Giants. Those are the teams, and I think obviously if we did the Bucks, you know, maybe we'd change the playbook up just so it's not as predictable. But those are the teams that I think the interesting fallout from their draft and where they stand as a team. So let me know in the comment section below, out of those teams, which rebuild you guys want to see next. On top of that, we are going to continue with the 0 rings to 7 rings, but those are only going to be at least once a week. It takes me like 2-3 days to record that, and I don't like missing that many days of uploads. And obviously we do have the retro mod with the Jacksonville Jaguars to kind of close out here July, the final month before we start to rev up towards Madden 24. Give me a follow on Twitter. I do have some important news that we're going to be talking about probably the next couple days. One of them is involving draft class content. Me and a certain somebody have been discussing what we want to do, and I think you guys are really going to like that as a community. And, you know, we're coming down to the nitty-gritty to decide who our Madden 24 main franchise is. I don't really want to say too many hints right now, but it is down to 2 teams. It's down to 2 teams, and I will say that I'm in a discussion with said person that I might be working on draft class stuff with. We're going to decide, and I think it's between those 2 teams for both of us. So that's going to be pretty cool whenever we decide to drop that. So stay tuned, and the easiest place to do that is on the Twitter. I did make a Threads account, but I'm not plugging that because who knows what the fuck Threads is ever going to be. But that'll do it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Till next time, it's your boy C4 saying peace out, love ya. Like, subscribe, all that cheesy YouTuber stuff, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out. Love ya.